Have you ever purchased cacti or succulent from a big store only to take it home and watch it rot over the next few weeks? If so, it's probably not your fault. Most cacti and succulent that are sold in big stores are planted in a soil mix that retains too much moisture for the roots of the cacti and succulent. This is how most cacti and succulent soil looks when it comes from a big store. This soil is very dense and organic and designed to hold a lot of moisture. This soil is designed specifically to keep plants alive on the shelf and keep them looking healthy. However, it's not designed for the long-term health of the cactus. In its natural habitat, the cactus and succulent plants will have a well-draining soil, and they will go weeks and sometimes months in between receiving water. So the root systems of these cacti are not genetically able to handle this level of moisture retention over long periods of time. You can see that a couple of the plants in here have already rotted, and there is moss growing on top of the soil, indicating extreme moisture. You see, big nurseries are not trying to kill these plants. What they're trying to do is design the conditions of the plant for shipping, for watering schedules, and for shelf life. So they want these plants alive long enough to sell, and they want them looking healthy during that time period. But once you bring these cacti and succulents home, that needs to change in order to create the conditions necessary for long-term health of the plant. And the most important factor in that change is going to be the soil conditions. So what do you do to fix this soil? Well, first, you remove the cacti from the soil and expose their root systems so that you're not transferring any of that water-retaining soil in a clump around the root system. Instead, you want to pull that soil away, expose the roots, and possibly let them dry out. So let's go through how to do that right now. So first things first is I'm gonna take these plants out of the pot and I'm gonna lay them in front of me. Once I have the plants laid out in front of me, like so, I can start removing the soil from the root balls. You'll want to wear gloves and hold the cactus and gently remove all of this soil from the roots, just like so. Just gently removing without tearing too much of the root system at first, although some root pruning might be necessary in just a moment. So you can see what I've done here is expose this root. So the entire root structure is now out of the soil, and there is still some soil left on the inside of that root structure. It's bound to those roots. So what I'm gonna do is let it dry out for 2 to 5 days, just to ensure that I can knock the rest of this soil off and that it's not gonna cause problems for this cactus later on. I'm also gonna let the bottom of the roots heal because there was some damage done while I was taking the soil off. You wanna let those roots callus over so that when you put it into the new soil, rot doesn't seep in through the roots, cause root rot, and then further climb into the body and cause rot inside the body of the cactus. So again, we're just gonna let this sit for 2 to 5 days until it feels completely dry in this root structure. And then I will plant in some more porous soil that is more well draining than what these came in originally. So you got your cactus out of that mix that wasn't right for them. What do you do now? Well, once again, you're gonna let those cacti dry out for a few days. But when you do go to replant, you wanna get a soil that is well draining, lets air reach the roots, and doesn't hold water for too long. The goal should be water moves easily through the soil, and then the soil dries within a few days of a deep watering. This will allow the cacti to be in conditions that are more similar to how they would grow if they were in their natural environment. So I'm not going to replant these cacti right now because, like I said, I'm going to let them dry out for a few more days. But when it comes time to replant them, how do you want to do this? Well, you're going to fill your pot up with the well-draining soil that you had purchased. And you can go to any big store and buy cactus, palm, and citrus mix, or you can make your own using pumice, cocoa coir, a small amount of organic material, and some inert soil that isn't too moisture retentive. You can look up plenty of these recipes online, or again, just go to your big store next to you, a Lowe's or a Home Depot, any big garden store like that, and pick up a bag of cactus mix. Typically, these will do fairly well for you. Make sure though that they're not too high on the organic matter that's in the soil. You want to look at the ingredients and make sure it's going to be porous enough to allow water to drain out nicely. So when you go to plant your cactus, you want to make sure that you don't let the soil come up to the line that it had previously been at. Many stores will plant their cacti way far up. You can see this one's about 1.5 inches, maybe even 2 inches of the base of the cactus was planted down into the soil. Don't do that. Instead, what you want to do is make sure the soil only comes up enough to cover the roots and meet the base of the cactus right there, and then add a small layer of rock mulch on top of the soil, and that will help retain the moisture in those hotter months. And once you get your cactus planted, do not water it right away. You want to wait 1 or 2 weeks after planting to water it in. If you water right away, you could face some form of root rot or rot crawling up into the body through the roots. This is just a standard practice amongst cacti and succulent growers, and it's very helpful. So make sure, once again, don't water once you get it planted. Wait 1 or 2 weeks to water. And if it's winter time, especially if it's cold where you live, don't water within 1 or 2 weeks. Instead, wait until spring. Wait until it starts to get warm and then water. These cacti and succulents have enough water in their bodies to last through winter, because winter is their dormancy period in which they are not actively growing. They are just maintaining and surviving. So do not water right when you plant. Instead, wait a week or two if it's warm outside, and if it's winter, just wait until it gets warm outside to go ahead and water. Desert plants don't need a whole lot of attention. They don't need constant watering and fidgeting and fussing. Instead, what they need is patience, light, and well-draining soil. And depending on the species, those characteristics are going to vary, but not by much. These 3 things will almost universally ensure success with your desert plants. So be sure not to stay out in the garden too long tending to these guys. Put them in a well-draining soil. Give them water when the soil is dried out completely since your last watering, and watch as nature takes its course and these become some of the most beautiful specimens you have ever seen. And if you've ever lost cacti after bringing them home, don't be discouraged. This is truly a unique plant, and it takes time to get to know the structure, the maintenance routines, and the overall character of these plants. They are not like any other plant in the world, and you really have to take time to practice and to get used to what makes these plants tick. So again, don't be discouraged, keep going, go buy another one if your last one died and implement some of these tips. And if these tips worked for you, let me know down in the comments what you changed. And if they didn't work, let me know what went wrong and maybe we can diagnose that problem together. Until next time, this is Adrian with Sonora and Flora.